Hello, I'm Carl Opedal of the Opedal Patent Law Firm. In this presentation I will explain to you why you should be using ePCT. The target audience for this presentation is corporations that do large numbers of PCT filings, corporations that entrust those filings to outside counsel. I should emphasize that this presentation is not intended to be legal advice. If you want legal advice, please consult competent counsel who can discuss with you the details of your factual situation and answer whatever questions you may have. What is ePCT? ePCT is a system that WIPO started beta testing about 1.5 years ago. Our firm was among the handful of filers that was invited to beta test this system for about 1 year. So we have 1.5 years of experience with this system. WIPO released it to use by the general public about 5 months ago, and the system is now available to any and all PCT users. It is still considered by WIPO to be a pilot system, meaning that there are some aspects of the system that are still being improved and modified. The system allows you to see things that are secret, things that you could otherwise never see, things that were normally kept secret within the International Bureau in the past. But even before an 18-month publication has occurred, you get to see everything that's in your application file. Even before the 30 months comes around, you get to see your written opinion and International Preliminary Report on Patentability and translations of them. This system permits selective access to inventors, outside counsel, applicants, whoever might need to have access to the PCT files. The ePCT system provides automatic reminders of upcoming due dates. It permits an online automated withdrawal of a pending application, which we hope we would never need to do, but if you need to do it, you can do it automatically and efficiently. If there were ever need to withdraw a priority claim or make a 92 bis change, a change to the bibliographic data, these things can all be done through ePCT, and you can do an immediate check to see that whatever it is you're trying to do has been acted upon. Another feature that can be very helpful for some applicants is that the detailed bibliographic data, inventor names and addresses, priority claims, other things, are all available as characters that can be copied and pasted from a bibliographic data section of the ePCT system. Soon, probably around July 1, WIPO will release a feature of ePCT that permits it to be used for the filing of new international patent applications before the receiving office of the International Bureau. Why is this so important? Why do we care? Why is it imperative that you learn how to use ePCT? The main point for today's audience, the main point is that you as corporate counsel always feel the need and the responsibility of supervising the work of outside counsel, staying on top of things, making sure everything is always under control, and ePCT facilitates that very important collection of goals. What does it cost? Nothing. No out-of-pocket cost. Yes, you'll have to spend a little time getting it set up, but once you have incurred that modest time cost of getting it set up, it costs nothing to use and only offers benefits, great benefits, to you as a user. You'll learn about correspondence before it even happens. If something gets sent to outside counsel, you will learn that it has been sent to outside counsel. You could ignore it if you wish, or you can docket it, you can look at it, and you'll have advance warning if there's ever a difficulty, something that requires action. Other benefits, well, we hate to imagine that anyone would ever screw anything up, but if your outside counsel were to screw something up, the ePCT system would tip you off right away. With ePCT, you'll get automatically notified if any new papers have been filed in the application, if bibliographic data have changed, if the status of the application has changed, or if something is mailed out from the International Bureau. Alright, so maybe I've convinced you that you should learn how to use ePCT. what should you do exactly? Well, step one is to get a so-called crypto certificate or digital certificate from WIPO. I will explain in some detail how to do that. Second, you go to the WIPO website and obtain a user ID and a password. This is easy to do. When you've finished those two steps, you will upload what is called the public key of your digital certificate to the ePCT system. And then, for this audience, a corporation that does PCT filings that have been entrusted to outside counsel, you will direct your outside counsel to give you access to your PCT applications. I'll mention briefly that on the WIPO website there are some very helpful resources, a getting started guide, frequently asked questions section, user guide. You should print all these things out and keep them handy to refer to as you start using ePCT and learning all of its different features. Okay, first step, getting a crypto certificate, what WIPO calls a digital certificate. This normally requires 1 business day. You send in the request, and within 1 business day, our friends at WIPO will do what it takes to send you back your digital certificate. You should plan ahead. Don't wait until the last minute when you suddenly need one of these things in a hurry. Plan ahead and get it right away so that you have it. It can also be used for electronic filing in the receiving office of the International Bureau using the PCT Safe file manager. It can also be used for encrypting email messages, inbound and outbound email messages. To get the certificate, you go to this web address and follow the instructions. One of the steps involves typing in a challenge phrase. You need to keep a record of this because 2 years from now you're going to need to renew your digital certificate, and when you do, you'll need the challenge phrase. So keep it somewhere where you can find it 2 years from now. Then back it up. In a moment I will illustrate how to do this, but back up the certificate. Otherwise, if your computer crashes, it's going to be a big challenge, a big fuss to do what it takes to get a replacement certificate. So back it up somewhere. How do you back it up? Well, in Firefox, for example, you will click on Options and Advanced and click on View Certificates. Here we can see some certificates. Then click on Backup and back the certificate up as a file on your hard drive, and then copy that file somewhere safe so you can find it again if you ever need it in a hurry. Anytime you put a new browser on your computer, Chrome for example, or Firefox, use the backup of your certificate to load it into the new browser. The point here is that certificates live in browsers. Sharing your certificate. Well, the general point here is you should not ever need to share your certificate, and you should not ever share your certificate. The main point here is that each person in your corporate patent department should have his or her own WIPO digital certificate. Indeed, part of your checklist for newly hired employees is that they should get a WIPO digital certificate. Whenever somebody leaves your employ or leaves your patent department, it just takes a few mouse clicks to turn off that person's access to your ePCT files. Alright, so you've gotten your crypto certificate. What next? Well, if you have not already done so, you should create your WIPO user account. Then, after you've created your WIPO user account, upload the public key of your digital certificate to the ePCT system. Okay. The next thing you're going to need to do is gain access to your PCT applications. Basically, for a corporate patent department that has had its work carried out mostly by outside counsel, this involves instructing your outside counsel to give you access to your PCT applications. They will already have carried out all these steps involving the digital certificate and the user ID and password. They will do what is called an e-handshake with you, and they will then give you access to your PCT applications. Once you've done that, you then in turn give access to your coworkers within your patent department, each of whom has already obtained his or her own WIPO certificate and user account. You do this through what are called e-handshakes. Basically, with an e-handshake, one person extends an invitation to another person. The recipient will then accept the invitation, and then selectively you can give that person access to one or more PCT applications. The only way you'll get stuck is if that person has not yet uploaded their digital certificate to the ePCT system, in which case you'll get this error message, user account not authenticated. If that happens, ask the person to please do what it takes to upload his or her digital certificate to the ePCT system. Another action step within your patent department is to assemble all in one place everybody's ePCT user IDs. Put it on an intranet someplace where it's easy to find, and then this is very handy whenever you need to do some e-handshakes, perhaps for a new employee or something. They can check this list of IDs and do handshakes with all the people on the list. One of the things you will find in the ePCT system is that when you give someone access, you get to pick what level of access they have. The choices right now are two choices, e-owner or e-editor. My suggestion is, in general, unless there's a special reason to make them an e-owner, you should make them an e-editor. You could always later upgrade their status to e-owner if necessary. WIPO will soon create a role of e-reader, which is read-only access. It means the person can see the file, but they can't change anything. When WIPO releases this feature, I will suggest that in general this is the best role to give to somebody whenever you're not absolutely sure what role they should have. After all, you could always later upgrade their role to a higher level, such as e-editor or e-owner, if necessary. Now, having said that everybody should only be an e-editor and not an e-owner, the fact is, I think, within your organization, you should always have a standard practice that you have at least two e-owners. That way, if anybody's user ID is compromised, or an e-owner leaves the company or leaves the patent department, there will be somebody else who's already still an e-owner and who can do whatever needs to be done, including appointing new e-owners and letting other new employees have access and so on. Now, with the ePCT system, one of the important steps is gaining access to the PCT files. For a corporation that has been entrusting its work to outside counsel, generally speaking, what this means is that your outside counsel will do the work of gaining access to the files if they have not already done so. Once your outside counsel do this, then they will give you access to the PCT files as well, as an e-owner, of course. Now, having said that, which applications should you gain access to? Well, clearly you're going to want access to each newly filed PCT application. Clearly that's very important. Every pending application, PCT that has been filed and is not yet 30 months old, you're going to want access to. And this is a one-time step for each application, but it's just a few mouse clicks. You might wonder, if a case has already had 18-month publication, which means that you can see it in PatentScope, why do you care about gaining access to it in ePCT? Well, there are several reasons you would care. First, you're going to want access to things like the written opinion and the IPRP, which in PatentScope will not be available until 30 months has gone by. But there are other things to think about with this. For example, some things are never visible in PatentScope. Various correspondence, various status documents, and you'll be able to see those things in ePCT. Finally, and this is perhaps a most subtle but a most important point, the ePCT system provides searchable functions. You can search the portfolio for all the cases that have a certain inventor. Search the portfolio for all cases that fall within a certain range of filing dates. These kinds of searches are the searches that you sometimes need to do in a big hurry to solve some urgent problem. And the only way you're going to be able to address some urgent problem is if you planned ahead and gained access to all your cases already. How far back can you go? The ePCT system goes back to applications filed on or after January 1, 2009. I will suggest as a best practice that you should make a special point of gaining access to every one of your PCT applications that was filed on or after January 1, 2009. Okay, this slide basically summarizes the points I've just made. At a minimum, you'd want every pending case. I suggest getting every case that goes back to January 1, 2009. One of the nice treats about ePCT is that you can make constructible links. You can take this very link and fill in a different PCT application number, and it becomes a deep link that will go directly to a detail page for that PCT patent application. Of course, you have to be able to log into your ePCT account to see it. But this permits use on your intranet, for example. For your internal databases, you can store those links and have very quick and convenient access to the detailed information in the ePCT system. I talked about handshakes. I talked about how you can extend a handshake invitation to someone else, and if they accept it, then you and they are connected by a handshake. I should emphasize that this does not, in and of itself, give access to anything. It only makes you friends with the other person, but it does not give that person access to any files. Only if you later do the mouse click to give them access to a particular file will the handshake lead to that person having access. Alright, so as a corporate patent department, what are things you should be doing? Well, clearly, outside counsel, if they are trendy and modern and up-to-date, will already be using ePCT. They would then give you access to your files in ePCT. And of course, because they're already using it, and it only takes a mouse click or two to give you access, they should not be charging you extra for this capability. Suppose you, as corporate counsel, choose to transfer a PCT application or a group of PCT applications from one outside counsel to another. Well, if you have planned ahead and gained ePCT access to those applications, then the transition for outside counsel can be very easy, very efficient, and very complete. Basically, all you would do is e-handshakes with your new outside counsel, and then a few mouse clicks to give them e-owner access, and now they have complete access to all those PCT files. If you compare this with how it often has been in the past, transferring files from one outside firm to another is often a terrible pain in the neck, involving physically transporting files from one place to another, but the ePCT system makes that transfer easy, just a few mouse clicks. There are other nice things about ePCT that I will mention. For example, you can display a detailed timeline. We all know the nice PCT wheel that we use. We rotate it and we put in the priority date, and it tells us how to calculate various important dates. Well, the ePCT system will do that and will automatically calculate all those dates. You can put notes and warnings on the files. A note goes to all of the other people who a note goes only to you. Only you will see your notes that you've put into ePCT. You can also post a warning that will go to all of the other people who have ePCT access. This might be helpful if you have a particular file in which something has gone wrong and you want to make sure nobody does anything on the file without checking with you before they take action. Well, you just post a warning and that would tell people. As I mentioned earlier, detailed bibliographic data in a form that can be copied and pasted is also available. Here are categories of the bibliographic data that you can gain access to in extraordinary detail. I mentioned earlier you can do searching. These are examples of the searches you can do. All the cases that are published, not yet published, all cases containing a particular agent name or inventor name, or cases that have particular characters within the file reference. These search capabilities are the kind of thing where you never know when you might need it, but when you do need it, you often need it in a big hurry to solve a problem. That's why you should be planning ahead and getting every one of your PCT cases into the ePCT system. Well, thank you for listening to all this. How can you learn more? Join the PCT listserv sponsored by our firm. Go to this web address and you'll get instructions to join this listserv. The listserv is an extraordinary resource with hundreds and hundreds of very active PCT practitioners. It permits getting answers to difficult questions at all hours of the day and night. It permits you to compare notes with other filers on best practices for PCT filings and PCT prosecution. You should join. There's no reason not to, and you could always unsubscribe at a later time if you wished. With that, I will say thank you. Good day.